Alright, hello everyone, Soldier17 here. Let me first, like usual, I know this picture does not pay video, and I know the Percy Jackson series, and none of the books or anything. So, here's the thing. I did not read the book until a few minutes ago. Basically, by a few minutes ago, I mean I read it for an hour. So, yeah. A lot of things are gonna sort of change from the book. So, I'm not gonna say what, but you can figure that one out. Now, please understand that this is what Naruto would do in this part, because I believe, and besides, I mean, you're gonna see what I'm gonna do, and just understand, I believe, like I said, what Naruto would do. So, I have enough talking. I probably will get a comment saying just get to the video already, but I'm just gonna make sure some stuff real quick, so I will get back and we will start the video. So, give me a minute. Okay, I just finished what I need to do. It's just seeing what was wrong with my dad. I thought something happened. He was just coughing. So, but anyways, let's just do a quick recap. So, what happened last time was Hades basically asked Naruto to find his Helmet of Darkness. And he basically told Naruto that he would, basically bring back Sally Jackson. Chiron, and Percy all know it's not Hades and such. So they don't know who it is, but they're going along with him, pretending they don't know. That it's basically, they think it's still Hades. Now, also, they fought the Furies. Naruto got a little piece of the Furies' wing. At least one of them. And, well, basically Naruto prevented Percy for something. But, if you guys know the book, yeah. So, anyways, and they basically were sleeping in the woods. Now, are they going to wake up the next morning? No, they're only going to take like a little rest with a little nap, and they're going. So, and also Hestia gave a blessing to Naruto, which is basically creating food. Because that's the only thing I can think of. I want to double check because I wrote down the blessings I was going to give him. So I basically have a plan for them. So give me a minute though. Oh, yes, I even gave him another pocket dimension. Chaos is one that, he created, which is just like opening a rift. But this one's just like legit pocket dimension. That's gonna be for more of, how should I say this? More of the loot instead of anything like he will, and like, travel things. But his one that he basically has already is, gonna be like for other things, like larger things. I do not think Hestia is one. Well, I forgot I even gave him that one when I was making the list. So it's just gonna be food, but just a pocket dimension that basically can handle like little things. Alright, so anyways, let's just continue on. This is what if Naruto became a son of chaos, part 4. So, we technically have Naruto waking up Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. He's like, alright guys, wake up. Nap time's over. Which we're like, huh? Oh, alright. So basically they're just walking through the woods. Now, the conversation between Percy and Annabeth, what happened like a canon. And Grover would play the pipes. Naruto, though, is going through the fights, and he then says, even though Annabeth, you basically did say he was foolish, a person never basically abandoned their comrades. Especially if this is a team. Which she's basically looking at Naruto, side glance at him basically. She goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was taught this way by my sensei named Kakashi. Those who, abandon basically the mission are trash. Well, no, those who fail the mission are trash. Those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Which she goes, wait, what does that mean precisely? Which Naruto says, well, technically failing a mission where I come from and living just means you failed. You know, and everyone will look at you differently. But, well, abandoning a comrade is basically dealing with the guilt. You are technically worse than trash. You're scum, Annabeth. That's all it means. Percy didn't want to abandon his comrades. That means he's reliable, he's trustworthy, and he has a good heart. Not many people have that nowadays. Especially where I come from. Because in my world, it's a killed or be killed world. Survival to finish. Which Percy's like, really? Why is that? He was like, oh. Well, ninjas. What do you expect? Ninjas? I mean, oh yeah, the Son of Chaos, never to mention. But you were a ninja? How? Please, tell me. He's like, okay, first off, as all of a sudden he just has his hand out as basically fire appears. It was a little light where we're going. And which Annabeth is like, looking at him, then based at the fire, looking at him, based at the fire. He goes, you could have done that this whole entire time. He goes, yep. He has a like goofy smile on his face, basically, when he said that. And she just sighs. Percy's like, so this is used by chakra, right? He goes, yep. This is really interesting, man. I wish you could teach me it. And she just shrugs, be like, who knows? Maybe you do have it. Maybe not. I don't know how it is with people in this dimension. I was born with it, so maybe you have, well, like how you control the water. So it could be basically something like that. Maybe I can help you control that when we get back to Camp Half-Blood. Which Percy's just looking at him with, widened eyes, basically. He's like, wait, really? He goes, yeah. I mean, I technically can use the rainwater and make a water needle, but But right now, let's just keep going. Which Percy nods. Basically, Grover heard it. He's like, well, that's good. You basically give us a light so we don't have to trip and smack into a... As when Grover was about to finish that line, Percy, was looking back on Naruto, basically walking backwards, turned around, and immediately smacked a tree. He goes, ow! That hurts! Which Naruto just look at Percy and just nods his head. And Annabeth kind of chuckles, and Grover was like, really, Percy? So after that, they traveled for a bit. And, well, Grover was chewing on a can, but they do come across something. A glowing sign. Basically, one that you will see back in, well, I believe in the 90s. So, basically just some like you will see back in somewhere in the 90s or 80s, I guess. But anyways, what they basically caught Naruto's, well, Annabeth's, Grover's, and Percy's attention was the smell of food. Percy and Annabeth didn't have food, but Grover did, neither did Naruto, and that was like maybe a couple hours ago. So, basically Naruto was like, well, the light's on and basically there's food. Maybe we can grab something to eat if they're willing to let us. Which Percy nods, and Annabeth says, yeah, that could be true. Which Grover says, I don't know, guys. Which basically Naruto was like, look, Grover, if anything happens, well, I got this covered. And also, we got Annabeth and Percy. Which they both look at him, and they basically have their eye twitching, and they basically both of them says, what is that supposed to mean? which she basically just smirks and goes like, I don't know, you tell me. Which they just look at him and goes, okay, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. It's just I'm trying to make sure Grover's okay. Which they just not. So after that, they do go over to the sign, and Grover does read the sign for them, which also Naruto can technically read it too, but he doesn't want to tell them. Basically, it's just like Auntie Em's Garden Gnome Emporium, in which Naruto goes like, huh, M. That's weird. Doesn't that sound weird, guys? M? Which, basically Percy goes, I don't know, but I'm kind of hungry, so... Which, Annabelle goes like, I know it sounds weird, but still, hungry. Snack bar. Percy says snack bar. And basically they go over to the door, and they're about to open it, but right then and there, someone opens it, and it's a woman with a black veil. Basically... Middle East? Give me a minute. Yeah, okay, so in the book it says Middle East, like Eastern lady with basically with a black veil and gown that's covering everything besides her hands. So, yeah. As Naruto is just seeing this, and he's just thinking to himself, okay, this is putting me off. Basically, Kurama just says, Naruto, be careful. I got a bad feeling about this. And the negative emotions on her is, well, enormous. It just increased, though. I think I know why. Which Naruto goes, I have a funny feeling. Great. Which the Shinigami is just quiet. Now, though, as this Middle Eastern woman's basically talking, she goes, Children, why are you here? Basically, Naruto just basically speaks up, but it's the same line, saying, we're orphans, ma'am. In which Annabelle, Percy, and Grover just look at him, and she goes, really? Why are you here? He goes, well, you see, something bad happened to the orphanage, and we don't know what happened precisely, but all we know is it was on fire. We don't know if anyone survived from there, and we've been searching for a place just to rest and grab something to eat. It's been hours. And, well, I don't want to be rude to ask of this at this hour, ma'am, but can you please let us come in and eat? We're terribly sorry if this is disturbing you. Which, basically, this woman is taking only a few minutes to think, and, well, she nods. So, she basically steps aside and tells them to come in. As Naruto goes, thank you, really. And she goes, not at all. Children nowadays need to eat still. So come on in. As basically Naruto nods. Now, when they walk in, Annabelle's just looking at Naruto and goes like, how are you able to... As basically just, puts his finger to his lip. As he just says, I'll tell you later. And when she nods, basically, everything will happen the same with Percy's basically point of view about him not hearing about the click, but Naruto notices it. He thinks to himself, yep, bad feeling was right. Why does this always happen to me? Hold up. Alright, so, what happens is very simple. They do go over to the table and they, as in the story, and sit down. Just Naruto is there, and basically Naruto goes, ma'am, what's your name? She goes, oh, Auntie Em, dearie. I'll be back in a minute. I'll bring, the food and refreshments out. And basically Naruto nods. So when she does, he basically looks at Annabelle. He goes, okay, to answer your question, I've had to lie a few times to, survive. And get out of trouble. And besides, the most funniest thing is, I was able to trick, or how should I say, get away with many things, even though I was wearing a bright neon orange jumpsuit. And the elite ninjas at my village, like Anbu and Haijonins, couldn't even realize I was even doing some things, like painting the monument of our Hokages, which Annabeth's just like looking at him, blinking. Explain? He goes like, oh, the Mountain, or monument basically, is every villager can see it. It's basically the biggest thing in the village. And, well, that's the thing. No one basically saw a boy in bright orange throughout the night painting the monument, or technically in the morning painting it, until I made noise. Anyways, Percy just looks at him and is like, dude, how? Which he just shrugged, be like, hey, beats me. I was known as the dead last in my class. In which, basically Naruto just puts his hand behind his head, leaned back, as Annabeth just look at him, blinking. And she goes, dead last? He goes, technically speaking, I was being sabotaged, and, well, I don't want to talk about it much. It's pain. Besides, I'm not ready to tell you all my secrets now. So don't even try to even ask me questions about it, Annabeth. Which you just look at her with a knowing look as she just nods. Now, when Auntie Em comes back with the food, basically multiple trays, Naruto and them say thank you. So they start eating. And, well, let's just say this. When Percy's done eating, he basically, starts to make the conversation, and Auntie Em would tell the same thing about, her having sisters. Basically, she would date somebody. Basically, her sisters and her suffered the same fate, and basically she's, alone now. And sculpting helps. So, by this time, the Shimigami tells Naruto, use my powers to with your eyes. You'll see what I see. As Naruto basically like, okay, Shimigami. So, he basically, uses the Shimigami's powers, channel that power into his eyes, and what he sees is very simple. An owl. Basically wrapping a chain around the woman. Her soul is screaming out in pain and agony. And basically, Naruto can feel the hatred, but the sadness, the hurt, the regrets. He can feel all of that. As Naruto basically realized, this is Medusa. She's in pain. She suffered enough. As Chaos is watching Naruto, and she basically already knew about Medusa's pain. She thought Medusa died though, but knowing she's now alive brings a frown to Chaos. Basically, Chaos is frowning at this. A survivor, survivor Chaos is thinking to the end. So Naruto gets up, and he just says, you suffered enough, haven't you? You become a monster that, what they basically called you. And I'm sorry for you. So sorry it had to happen. As Auntie Em's going like, Dearie, what do you... As all of a sudden Naruto hugs her, which surprises Annabeth and Grover, but most of all Auntie Em. You see, okay, before you guys even say anything, I know from basically the story and a little bit about the mythology of Medusa, it's just, it rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, to me, that was just, so, as Naruto, what he stands for, what he's done in the past, since he has the power, why not help her? Even though for all the evil she's done, it can all change around. Besides, technically speaking, in mythology, Poseidon was at fault, and basically, Athena couldn't took out her anger on Poseidon, so she cursed, Medusa. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. All I know is basically, Athena cursed Medusa to be what she was, and Poseidon, was with her. So, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just going by story-wise, but still, well, technically story-wise and mythology, but still, if it's, if I'm wrong or right, I'm just basically doing something I thought was, from what I read. Alright? So, my apologies to anyone who loves Greek mythology and I got that wrong. But anyways, so, as basically Naruto's looking at Annabeth and Grover, and Percy's just not understanding as he goes, "Close your eyes and do not look. Understand me?" Which Annabeth goes, "Naruto, get," as he just glares at her. He goes like, "Listen to me, Annabeth, now." As, well, that shocks her, and Grover's like, just listen to him. Percy, seeing the seriousness on his face, listens. Annabeth does reluctantly. Now, Naruto basically looks back at, Medusa. He just smiles at her. He goes, "Now, before I lift the veil up, let me do something as quickly as I can." As the Shimigami basically has blue flames go around Naruto's face, which shocks Medusa, but then all of a sudden, when the flames disappear, Naruto has over his eyes basically a mask. And the mask basically has blue where the eye holes are, and those are basically glass to basically only be one way. He can see out of it while Medusa cannot see through it. Naruto smiles at her and goes like, "It's gonna be okay." As basically he's lifting up he basically grabs the veil and lifting up. Medusa says, "No, don't, you'll turn to stone, please." Saying it with desperation because he's the first person that ever hugged her. First person that ever talked to her, kindly, without her, have to say her name, or, anything, as a fake name or stuff. He just did it, even though he knew who she was. When he basically lifts the veil, he's not turned to stone, and someone appears behind Medusa as Naruto sees it, and his smile gets a little bit bigger. Medusa notices, and he goes, "See? I'm perfectly fine." Now, what's gonna happen may shock you. And I know what you've done, as I can see. As basically, points his head behind her, goes, "But technically, this is a curse by Athena. Not of your own choosing, I bet." Which she does not. But she goes, "But what are you going to?" As Naruto just says, simple. As what he does is, when he sees the curse, basically as the owl holding the chain, he immediately, has basically a dagger from the Shimigami appear, as the owl who looks at him in shock, and he just stabs it. But when the dagger stabs the owl, all of a sudden it reappears in the world of basically sight. And he basically says, "Now, be gone, curse, for you are not welcome here no more." As he just swipes his hand, with the power of the Shimigami and with Chaos's power, he has basically twice the amount of authority to break a curse like this. So when he basically swipes his hand, a visible energy source hits the dagger and shatters the owl and the chain and breaks it. And now, before anything can be said, a woman voice basically said behind, Medusa. And she goes, "Now, let us fix your age, sweetie. You have lived too long, and you'll die pretty soon. The curse of immortality of a monster only helps." And so, when Medusa is turning back to being human, she knows she was she would have died, but her lifespan is reverting. But she also noticed a sense of change. Like, her facial structure is changing. She even notices basically, well, her basically even bone structure's changing slightly too. And, well, Naruto removes the mask by just moving his hand across his face. And now we see Medusa. Basically, a black hair with basically green eyes. Basically, younger face. You can basically, basically figure out whatever way you want. I leave it up to your imagination. But she is basically younger, and, well, she has a younger voice. She goes, I'm younger. I'm human. I, as she's looking at Naruto, but then she looks behind, person, basically behind her, who it was, and then she looks back at Naruto and goes, just, who are you? She's saying with tears coming down her face, as Naruto says, he just says this, simple. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm the son of chaos. And, you suffered enough, Medusa. It's time for redemption for the lives you have taken. And I think I can figure out a way how to help you on that. In which, she's just nodding and basically tears still run down her face and she hugs him. She just, saying, softly enough for Naruto to hear, saying, thank you. Thank you so much for freeing me. Naruto notices Chaos is looking up. He goes, Mom, let me guess, someone's watching? She nods. And she basically is glaring. Now, though, we will cut to Olympus. We technically have Aphrodite sitting basically near Hestia, near the hearth, just pouting. And, well, Athena basically came next to her. Hestia already knows why Aphrodite's pouting, while Athena doesn't. She goes, Aphrodite, what's wrong? She goes, I'm just frustrated. So frustrated. Which, basically, Athena has never seen Aphrodite mad or upset, only when someone's said, was called way more beautiful than her, or prettier than her, or anything. So, she asked, did someone say they were beautiful than you and you can't figure out how to get, them back? She goes, no. It's just, I'm trying to find out who is Naruto Uzumaki. We know he is the son of chaos, but his love life, basically, it's impossible to be fathomed with me in my domain. I've basically been trying to search who was his parents, even though chaos is the parent, a primordial being. Still, there had to be a parent for him to be born, or he was just created. I've been trying to see any documents that were basically of him 13 to 12 years ago, in which that kind of shocks Hestia a little bit, even though she knows. And then basically Aphrodite is just looking, at, Athena. She goes, can you help me? Which she just realized when she said that and looked, she sees Athena, baffled, shocked. Basically, Athena.exe has stopped working. Rebooting moment for her. As Aphrodite says, I think I broke her. In which Athena, well, it is still broken, but Hestia just giggles and goes, yeah, you did. She never expected you to, actually research. Which Aphrodite goes like, true. So, after a few minutes, Athena goes like, how long have you been looking for? A year and probably a couple months. In which that kind of shocked Athena even more. So, she goes, well, I don't know if I can help out as much as I can, but maybe I can use some influence or basically gathering information on him for what I see. But she goes, really? Can you, please? But she asks, why? She goes, well, that's the thing. His love life and his love is mixed. She goes, huh? She basically explains, it's like he was already with somebody, madly in love with them, and his love was so much, like he would never leave them. But for some weird reason, he also doesn't know the meaning of love. It's like something from his past blocks it until a certain point, and even though he loved this person very much, he still doubted it in some way or form, and, well, it's like he doesn't understand it, and he does. And that's what been confusing me, because I came in by a perfect match for him. And it's just, I don't know. It's like he has no true love. It's like he can be with anyone, and yet he'll just give them all the love and attention they deserve, even if they're not a perfect match with him. In which, that kind of intrigues Athena a little bit. Hestia is also intrigued. So, Athena says this, alright then, let's see what he's doing right now. Now though, what they see is what, Naruto did. Well, certainly Naruto's talking to, which shocked Athena, Hestia, but Aphrodite's worried for some reason. But they see Naruto breaks Athena's curse, and Chaos is there. Well, they don't know. And then all of a sudden, basically, Medusa is changing, back to being younger, but suddenly a fog appears over her, changing her, covering her look. As Aphrodite is shocked by this, Hestia is surprised, but Athena is pissed. She's very pissed at Naruto. She basically says, how dare he break my curse? That, as before she can even say any more, she basically sees the woman staring up, as Athena has a shiver go down her spine. Aphrodite and Hestia even do too. Then they hear the word, Mom. What's wrong? Someone's watching us? And she nods. Which, basically, it closes. And so, Athena basically goes, I have to go. She basically leaps back to her temple to basically try to get revenge on Naruto and whoever this woman is. Well, she knows who it is, but still, it's impossible to her. Well, Aphrodite goes, that was chaos, wasn't it? Hestia nods. He goes, that glare, when she gave it to Zeus, is, well, technically, chaos basically glare to anyone is the same, even if it's in a female form. But Aphrodite was like, but he broke Athena's curse. And he says it was, hold up. Okay, not sad, and it looked like it was nothing to him. This is very intriguing. Intrigued. Yeah, intriguing. And basically she just thinks, how powerful will he be when he's older, though? And then all of a sudden, she basically sees that, basically, an image of Naruto older, and her face gets a little red. She goes, I'm gonna go. Bye, Hestia. And basically she leaves. Aphrodite leaves. Hestia just kind of chuckles even more at that. She goes, wow, I never saw Aphrodite blush like that and leave so quickly. So, Aphrodite is basically contemplating in her temple, while Athena is making arrangements for Naruto's punishment. Now, though, after basically Chaos tells everyone to open up their eyes, basically, Annabeth sees Medusa, younger, crying into Naruto's, chest, and he's just patting her on the forehead. He goes, it's fine, and you're welcome. But then, Annabeth's about to say something, but one look from Chaos makes her shut it. Now, she basically looks at Saturn, basically turned to stone. She just, as Chaos waves her hand, the petrification, basically disappears. As basically Grover says, Uncle Ferdinand! Wait, I think I said that right. Yep, I was right. As basically Grover's uncle was like, huh? What happened to me? I was... It's basically all of a sudden, Grover basically tackles him in a hug, as he goes, Grover, my boy, you've grown! Basically, he's basically Grover's crying, and then Naruto looks at all their statues, and Chaos just nods. She snaps her fingers. All the petrification stops, but, basically it disappears, but they're not, their bodies are, well, their bodies are basically souls. Now, basically Chaos says, now everyone, you've been dead for quite a while, and I'm sorry to say that, but let me tell you the reason why. As basically she points to Medusa, who's still crying in Naruto's, chest. She goes, this is the woman who, well, technically was a woman, to turn you into stone. Before you say anything, allow me to explain how. You see, she was, or should I say, her name is Medusa. And if you know Greek mythology, then you know. But if you do not know, it's all because of a god put a curse on her just because of another god's actions. And to get payback for disrespecting her, she put a curse on the human woman, basically Medusa, to turn her into the person who, well, with snakes in her hair, and to turn you all to stone. Your lifespan was, well, expired, so I can only do the rightful thing and turn you into spirits, so I may bring you down to, well, not me per se, more like I basically call someone to help you to go down to the underworld, or, well, to take you everywhere you need to go. Which all the spirits that are looking at her that were dead, including the young ones, basically like a little girl, kind of, looked sad, angry, but, well, the little girl asks, but why would a god do that? Which basically, Nar says, a god or goddess would do anything out of any little reason, anything slight of disrespect. So, do not blame the one who turned you into stone. Blame the one who turned, well, the curse onto the one that turned you into stone. Which someone asks, who was it? Who was the one that put the curse on Medusa? Basically, he wants to make sure, he knows the mythology. And before Naruto can say anything, Chaos says, Athena. And he goes, all because of Poseidon was basically dating her, and they met in the temple and did whatever they did, which basically Chaos nods. Which, well, basically he says, I can't speak for anyone, but I'm not going to blame the one who turned me into stone. It's a cause and effect here, so I'll go wherever I need to go. Which she just asks everyone, who was like, do you all feel the same way, or do you basically want to say a few words? No one can say nothing. Even the young kids can know that from what the adult asked, they really can't say nothing either. So, basically, Thanatos appears and, well, basically, God of Death, basically helps out Hades, takes the souls to the underworld and, well, wherever they need to go. Now, though, basically, Chaos looks back at Medusa. She goes, now then, Medusa, I think you cried a little bit enough into my son's chest. Please, get off of him. And she does, and he goes, yes, I'm sorry. Which, well, she goes, it's no problem. Now, Annabeth, dear, stop glaring at her. Which she goes, why? She's pure evil, basically, blah, blah, blah. you know, what everything she was saying canon. But Naruto just looks at her again, but with just a blank stare. And he basically, that kind of shocks her because it looks like it's lifeless. And it doesn't look right on him. He just says to her, "Listen here, Annabeth. Your mother's the one who put the curse on her. And, well, before you even say anything, because it's basically Percy's father's fault. um, Even though it kind of was disrespectful what they did, or what happened, putting a curse on her to turn her into a monster, and ruin her basically sisters. So not just one person got the curse, but 3. So, tell me, was that even fair? Was that basically justice for the of a god's way? No. Your mother just did it because it was just disrespectful to her, and she didn't care who was hurt in the process. Now, all those lives that were turned to stone was not Medusa's fault. Yes, she did basically look at them and they were turned to stone. That is her actions, yes. But she would never have had this power if your mother never put the curse on her. So it's not just Medusa's fault, it is also your mother's. So, before you even say she's evil, pure, simple, and that, she was once human. Turned into a monster, being a monster for so long, being probably killed multiple times. Heck, more times than I can even count. And being basically known throughout history for ruining people's lives, for killing people. Could take a toll on anyone's mind, even someone that was turned into a monster. Heck, even losing their family before their eyes can change them, Annabeth. So do not ever say someone's evil. She was not born evil. Someone made her that way. And you cannot ever say she was. In which, after basically he looks away, Annabeth looks down. Basically she basically thinks in her head he's wrong, but even though everything he said, even though she wants to deny it, it's all true. She realized that through his words and what she saw. Just because of what happened in her mom's temple, just because Poseidon and her met up, she was basically cursed and became what she was. Now, Naruto says, "I don't know what's gonna happen. Hopefully, Athena did not see your change, so she does not know what you look like." In which Chaos says, "She doesn't. I made sure of it. I put the mist over her to to basically cover her from, Annabeth's mother's eyes. Now then, do you mind helping out, basically, my son and his friends?" She goes, "Yes, anything. What do you need?" Naruto says, the location of Hades', lair. She goes, "Right." So she basically goes back into her room, she scrounges up a few things, and, she basically gives him the receipt for Hades. As basically Percy looks at it, so does Annabeth and Grover, and they're basically going to take it. Now, she even gives him about basically Hermes, overnight express, basically. She even gives him a card to give, to talk to Hermes, even a phone. Well, technically not like a real phone, but I mean like a phone number, I meant to say. She was just call that, and if, Hermes ever picks up, just, ask if they basically would deliver anything, and ask basically if they can deliver something. If they say yes, then, here, use this. And basically it's just Drachmeal. And he goes, "Really?" She goes, "I don't need it no more. I'm mortal again, so I should really stay out of the Greek world." Which, basically, before Chaos says anything, she basically just, looks at Annabeth. She goes, "Annabeth, dear, look at this from a learning experience." She goes, "Huh?" Basically, Naruto can see Annabeth trying not to have tears. So does Medusa. Even though she hates Annabeth. And, because her mom, seeing basically a young girl like that cry is, even she cannot hate it. where she listened to basically Chaos's words. She goes, "This is a learning experience from you. Not everything what your mom does is good. And you cannot believe that your mom does everything for the good of the world or for the good of her or everyone else. Sometimes it's just a selfish reason. And you cannot be like, say, that your mom was justified. Because sometimes she isn't. You have to understand that, sweetie. Basically, your point of view and hers is totally different. What you think is wrong and right is different from hers. She believes she was in the right, yet other people believe she's in the wrong. Remember that. It's just, you cannot basically say she's in the right even though it's wrong. Sometimes. Even when you believe it. Deep down inside. In which Annabeth just nods. He goes, I'll learn from this again. I'll learn from this. Okay, now though, Chaos looks at, basically, well, Percy. She goes, now then, Percy, we do not want anything to happen because you're, well, stepfather, so allow me to do this. As basically, Chaos just touched Percy's head. All of a sudden, Percy's facial features change, and his hair changed to black. And basically his eyes become blue. In which, when Annabeth sees this, she basically just staring for a little bit, but then all of a sudden her face gets a bright red. In which Chaos and Naruto seen this, along with Grover and basically, well, you know, Medusa, and they all just they have the same thought. Well then, that's interesting to know. So, he goes, why do I feel a little bit different? She goes, well, I changed your looks, a little bit of your facial structure, and your eye color, and your hair. So, this is only temporary though. Which she goes, wait, what? He goes, do not worry, you'll look, well, when you get older, someone may, well, still find, well, actually, I'll let that, well, hang so you can figure that one out. Now though, Medusa, as she just snaps in figures, as all of a sudden a portal opens and Chiron's there at a desk with paperwork, in which he basically sees the portal as he goes, Chaos, what is it that you need of me? And she goes, well then, Chiron, you see this young lady here, as basically Medusa comes forward, and he goes, yes, what is it? She basically just says, simple. This is very simple. You see, this is, well, Medusa. And do not worry, her curse is broken. Which, she goes, but how? And she goes, simple, my son. Which she goes, alright then. That's understandable. And I basically reverted her age and kept her basically hidden from Athena. In which she goes, what is it that, though, you want of me? She goes, well, do you have anything open for someone? Which he basically thinks, he goes, well, there's quite a few things that we basically still need here. And we could always use the extra hands, truly. In which Medusa basically just says, I'll help out. I don't really mind after all I've done. I want to do something good for once. Which Chiron can see no lies, and he basically figures it's because she was turned into a monster in years and years of hardship that she basically closed off her heart and became the monster. I see. So, he goes, alright then. Wait, but how is she going to, basically, Chaos just pushed Medusa through the portal, and she goes, well, Medusa, how about you change your name to Emily? But she goes, Emily? She goes, mm-hmm. Oh, and just so you know, you're under my protection, just in case. So, there'll be a separate cabin for you. That, well, and basically the Chaos's cabin. So do not worry. In which she just snaps her fingers as the portal closes, and Chiron basically sees, well, Medusa. He goes, well, now, Emily, let's get started on your paperwork. And she goes, you sure? He goes, well, he just puts up his hand. He goes, listen, you have done lots of things, but from your scent, you are human now. You are not the monster. So, if you want to have a restart, this may be able to help out for the next generation of heroes from your perspective. And was she not? And she goes, thank you. Really, thank you. And he goes, it's no problem. Now, have a seat. And so she does. Now that we go back to Naruto and everyone else. She goes, well now, Naruto, it's like I have to get going. Stay safe. And watch out. Athena will try something. Which he nods. So, after that, she leaves. And basically Naruto says, well, let's get going. Basically, though, Grover says, wait, shouldn't we gather some food? It's like, yeah, true. So basically they gather some food, basically they take the draft meal that was in the register, and basically the money, basically, and Naruto basically gets out a storage scroll and puts the food in there, and, puts it in his back pocket. I mean, not puts it in his pocket, he puts it in his bag, as they basically leave. So, everything from there will go into canon, and the story of them basically walking away from the road, and basically find an area where it's tracked by teenagers and such. And Grover will talk about basically it's a sad day for Saturns because of the pollution. Now though, I want Naruto to try and do this. Just because. It's only going to be for a brief moment. But Naruto goes, alright, I'm going to try something, Grover. I want to see what you, are talking about. So he raises up his hand, and he closes his eyes. And basically, a large amount of energy is coming off of Naruto, which Annabeth wakes up to. As all of a sudden, Naruto starts to turn his arm. As all of a sudden, more stars are being seen. Which Grover and Percy are in shock. As when Naruto turns his hand just a little bit more, basically it's a full-on view away with no pollution in the air. As Grover's like, you did it! As Naruto looks up, he goes like, wow, you were right. It's not because of that pollution we couldn't see this. But I can't keep my concentration for long. As then all of a sudden he lets go as all the stars disappear. As Annabeth Welcome saw that, she goes, that was really pretty up there. In which Naruto just says, what? Can I have nothing basically smart to say about that? In which she just, basically blushes out of embarrassment. She goes, just shut it. I'm gonna go back to sleep now because of you. Where she goes, yeah. Also, here. He throws his jacket over to Annabeth, and she basically says, thanks. Because basically, it was gonna get a little bit cold. Just give me a minute. Okay, so, after that, Naruto basically says he's gonna he's basically gonna, sleep, and Percy and Grover are awake, and then Percy sleeps. Now, his dream goes the same, but the only difference is, the Shimigami, a demon ghostly figure appears, which the voice says, who are you? As basically the Shimigami just holds a sword, but what basically Percy's seeing, he sees the Shimigami, but someone's there with a golden form, and he just hears the voice of the Shimigami and someone else saying, you who are ancient, you are not welcome here in the dreams. Stay down in the pits of Tartarus. Be gone! As he just slashes down. Now, Tartarus, that can mean anything. But, basically, when he slashes, Percy hears a scream, and then he hears this ghostly figure that's Shimigami look back at him and goes like, the voices of the dead were telling you to wake, Percy Jackson. Wake up. For the being in the underworld will not speak no more for now. You are safe. And disappears, and Percy wakes up, but he's waking up in a cold sweat and fear. Basically, Annabeth goes like, Percy, what's wrong? He goes, I think I saw death. In which that shocks Grover, and Naruto basically looks up He was basically leaning against a tree looking down, and then he looks up, he goes like, really? How? So he just explained what he saw, but he also said there was a golden form inside the figure, and I don't know what it was, but it was like my body was screaming for me to run. It was like I was looking death in the eyes. In which Annabeth goes, how's that even possible? Hades doesn't look like that. Which then Grover says, maybe it was one of his minions? Which she says, no, it couldn't have been. Naruto just shrugs. I was like, well, who knows? Which everyone just nods, but basically, Naruto knows, well, Percy knows the poodle, and that will go insane, but before they go to bring back the poodle, Annabeth goes, Naruto. He goes, yeah? The way how you were talking about Medusa, it's like you know something like that happened to someone, or personal experience. In which Naruto just looks at her and just sighs. Be like, well, I knew you would find out very quickly, huh, wise girl. In which she gets angry and a little bit, embarrassed, so she's blushing a little. And she goes, just shut it about that nickname already. He goes, nah. Alright, I'll tell you. And only you for now, since you're the one who picked it up. Come on. Basically, Grover heard that along with Percy, but they want to know badly, since now Annabeth, picked that up, but they're not going to intervene. So, when they get a good distance away, Naruto says this, alright, well, where I come from, there's a thing called a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice, basically. Which her eyes widen, and she goes, you're just not going to spin a story? He goes, there's no point in lying. Who knows, someone may know about the elemental nations truly, and blab it out to you guys, so I'd rather just tell you, and then Percy and Grover ask you, and no matter what, you'll just tell them just to stop Percy's annoyance. So, I'm just going to tell you now. And she goes, alright, so what about these Jinchurikis? He goes, well, there's this thing called tailed beast. Each tailed beast has a tail. Represents how much power they have. Heck, there's even a 10 tails that's a combination of all of them. Because all of them originated from the 10 tails. But the one I'm going to talk about is simple. The QB, the 9 tails. Basically, the QB is the 9-tailed fox. A beast of mass destruction. Basically, hatred incarnate. But, well, it's not anymore. Because, let's just say, 13 years ago, on October 10th, the QB attacked Konoha village, and the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, defeated the QB. Everyone thought he killed it, but in actuality, he sealed it away into a newborn, a child. His very own son. As her eyes wide, she goes, how would he do that? He goes, for the greater good. For the good of the village. But he had belief in the village that they would treat his son along with his wife's son like a hero for a sacrifice. Did they? He looks basically sad and grim. Like, those memories he doesn't want to remember, but they're so ingrained into his brain, they're visible. He says, no. They did the exact opposite. They treated him like a monster, a demon, saying, we know what you did. You can't fool us. You're a demon. Demon brat, basically. They did a lot of things to him, ignored him, beat him, tried to kill him on his birthday multiple times. They even tried to do some stuff, but they died before they could even do so. And, well, they basically overcharged prices on buying food, clothing. Heck, they didn't even sell him anything sometimes. And, well, that all stopped when he became a genin, a ninja. The only one who ever treated him right was maybe 4 people. And a few younger, of the few people of the younger generation. A few of his classmates. That was it. Not even enough to count on, well, basically, if he had another arm, basically, that extra 5 fingers. She goes, how do you know all this, Naruto? And he just says, with basically a fake smile, you could say. He goes, because I'm the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. And I'm the one that my village called Demon Brat. You know, and he just walking past her, and then he goes, all the way until I became their hero, because I saved the village. I realize now, some people thought I was probably still the demon. Even when I became their Hokage, their leader. Didn't matter to me though. They're a part of my village. I'll protect them with my life. As soon as I put on my headband, that didn't matter. Because my village was my home, and everyone in it was my family. You're just walking away. And if they're just, well, standing there in shock. And she says, that's why he could relate to her. He probably didn't tell me all of it, just a quick rundown, but still. They thought he was a demon? He's not one, but why? So, after, she's saying that to herself, she's walking back. Naruto basically gets back, packs up his things. And, well, the walk was silent. Percy, didn't talk near the Grover. And, well, let's just say this. After they gave the poodle and they got their $200, he basically made a comment saying, well, that dog reminded me of Tora. That cat. The demon cat really was a pain in the butt. Especially the next generation of Tora. Ugh. I'm glad I was not again at the time. In which Naruto, after saying that, Percy goes like, a cat? How dangerous was this cat? It was like, Tora the cat, the demon cat. Everybody's getting worst nightmare. That cat was so fast, so skilled. Even though it was big boned. It moved so quickly. I didn't understand it. All I know is I wanted to kill that cat someday. And I never did. But still, that cat was a pain in my butt. Along with any other genin. And so, after he said that, they kind of got an image of a cat being very quick and fast, and if ninjas couldn't catch it, then what the heck, they all thought. So, on the basically on the train, they do have money to get to the same location, but a little bit farther. But for just plot reasons, we're gonna still go with on the same location. Now, on the train, nothing really happens. Basically, because of Percy's change, they don't have to worry about anyone. So, everything will happen with Percy is the same. Everything will happen with, Annabeth and Grover is the same. But Naruto, Naruto's just sitting in the cart where they are. And, well, let's just say this. After he hears about what Percy says, even about his parents and hers, and they said about, the necklace, let's just say this. Naruto says, I'm going to use the bathroom. So, he walks away. And, well, when he does, he goes into an area that has no one around. He makes sure of it. And then he even puts up a privacy seal, And so, he just says, Hades, if you're not busy, can we speak? And so Hades does come. He goes, yes, Naruto. Did you find anything about my helm yet? He goes, no. I believe, though, I will find something. But can you tell me anything about it real quick? What type of energy signature I should, sense? Which he basically says, it'd be like me. Dark. Cold. A fear of death you should run from. It's like, Okay. He goes, so, what is it that you want to speak besides that? He goes like, Philia. He goes, Annabeth. Athena's child. Yes. Is it true? You weren't so nice to her? She goes, she asked me to free her. Free Philia, and not, well, have whatever I was having after her. He goes, why? Why is it that you would want to have Zeus's child killed so badly? Which, that brings a very cold look to Hades' face. And he just says, for he can know my pain. Which Naruto just raises an eyebrow, goes, please, enlighten me, Hades. Goes, so he just says, let's just say this. The pain of a parent and knowing someone tried to kill their child hurts deeper than any wound. In which, when before Naruto can even say anything, but knowing the person or a person you loved was harmed by your own family, even trying to kill your own children, could even hurt more than anything you've ever known. Any betrayal, any harm, heck, any form of torture in Tartarus would be better than know that pain. Which Naruto says, you, and he just nods. I did. I apologized to my wife plenty of times, but I did break it. And my brother did not like it. So, as an action, he tried something. He failed and succeeded. Which Naruto nods. He goes, what happened to them? He goes, you do not need to know for right now. But it was punishment for Zeus. And he thought doing that to his child would save her. It did. But Annabeth asked me to reverse whatever happened to her. I told her no. I did it out of, well, anger, hatred, and bitterness. But basically, Naruto says that is all true. But Zeus probably also did that to save his butt. Not to save hers. I do not know the truth yet, but just know this. Someday, Philia is gonna be awake and living. I'll make sure of that. In any way possible, even if I have to help out indirectly. Which, Hades does grin at that. He goes like, oh, I know. And good luck to you, Naruto. Which, basically, Naruto breaks the privacy seal. And he goes, but why would you tell me this information so casually? Which, Hades goes, what do I have to lose? Nothing. You've basically gained all the information, while I don't reveal anything else. Which, Naruto kind of chuckles. So, he basically leaves and Hades leaves. Now, when he gets back, everything will go the same. All the way when they get up to, well, hold up. Okay, so basically they all go to the Gateway Arc, and a big woman with a chihuahua appears. And so, everything from there will go to canon. But in this case, there was enough room for Percy to get in, but not Naruto, so he stays behind. And, well, this woman is basically just standing around as Naruto basically just stand there waiting for the ride as a few people, are basically there. Just a boy and his parents and a, security guard, basically. And so, as basically Naruto is just standing there, the chihuahua goes and barks at him. And then she goes, Sonny, she basically, the woman says, Sonny, please not now. There's so many people here. basically, the woman basically says that, and the Chihuahua is still growling at Naruto. And so, well, give me a minute. Okay, as well, Naruto's looking at the Chihuahua, then looks at her, and he basically says, "Kurama, is this what I'm thinking?" Which Kurama goes like, "Yep, some type of beast, not human." In which, well, Naruto just look at the Chihuahua and be like, okay, stop barking, you little thing. Or should I say big guy? You're gonna probably not fool anyone besides humans. So, quit with the yapping and just get started already. In which the woman is saying, "Oh, you already are trying to basically wish for your death." Which he just looks at her and goes like, yeah, just tell me your name already. In which Naruto basically makes a shadow clone over on the side, and, well, let's just say this. There was not an exit there until Naruto's clone made an exit, and they get down, well, basically the slide safely. But they used genjutsu to make it look like there was an emergency exit. So, as basically the people are gone, basically the woman just says, "I am the queen of the monsters, Echina." Let me just double check that. Give a minute. Yeah, the queen of all monsters, the terrible Echina. Which Naruto was like, "Oh." And then before she even says anything, "And I know who you are, son of chaos. You hold a beast inside of you, one of great power. I do not know how you even have it, but for you to hold something like that in you means you only are someone truly a son of chaos." In which Naruto goes, "Oh, cool. So you know about this. Well, sorry for your son, I guess. Sorry, Chimera, but as then all of a sudden Naruto basically starts glowing, and he goes through hand signs. But then all of a sudden 2 orbs appear, and it shoots out towards Echida. And basically she dodges it, but with Naruto basically make the hand signs done, he puts his hand down near the ground as lightning starts to cover his hand. And he goes, "But I have no time to play with you. I'm in a rush." And, well, all of a sudden Naruto disappears in a flash, and then all you can hear basically is the sound of basically chirping. And then Echina just hears, "Shidori! 1,000 birds!" That's all she hears. And she then sees the Chimera basically gets pierced in the chest, and Naruto's hands all the way through it. And, well, he basically rips it out as, well, the Chimera basically falls, and turns to dust. Basically, fangs of the Chimera, a pelt, and maybe, let's just say, an eye is there. As basically they just go into a pocket dimension that he opened. Then he looks at her. He goes, "So, did I have to use anything on you?" Or, and basically the rods that basically were hit the ground come back into his hand, and he holds them. And he goes like, "Or do we have to play rough?" She goes, "What? What are you?" He goes, "Easy." He basically ties the rod together, and then all of a sudden, basically a neural ball comes and basically forms the head of a spear. He just starts spinning it, and then multiple layers of chakras going around it. He was like, "I'm the son of chaos. When you play with fire, you get burned. Remember that. Oh, and tell Athena this wasn't worth the price of a job." As he suddenly disappears in a flash, and basically all she hears, "For an elemental, spear, rise and strike, pierce the heavens," is when she basically just gets hit in the stomach, and it basically just she gets pushed up. All of that chakra is basically that was on the spear. It was wind, lightning, earth, and fire. It suddenly shoots up, making a tornado, hitting basically the sky, and just starts spinning, which Percy, Annabeth, and Grover see. Which it lasts for a few minutes, but they hear someone screaming, and then just nothing. Now, what falls on the ground is very simple. a sword. Basically, she's the queen of all monsters, so a sword appears, hits the ground right in front of Naruto, as basically chaos appears. She goes, for you to defeat her so easily, you caught her by surprise. Excellent. And it seems like you got a new weapon. For defeating someone as, well, who she was, it's very impressive, my son. Which he goes, what is it though? And basically the orbs change back into, well, the spear changed back into orbs, and basically they just disappear back into him, and, the cloak disappears. And, well, she basically just tells him to go pick it up. And when he does, he feels like it's balanced, perfect in his hands. He goes, another sword. But it looks different. It's not a katana, so I guess it's basically something of the East. Which, she goes, yes, something like that. You have to figure that out on your own. But this only sword can morph, I believe. Which she goes, huh? She's the queen of all monsters. And then he realized, so wait, the sword can shapeshift probably into, as all of a sudden, he basically thinks of a sea monster, the Leviathan. As all of a sudden, the sword starts to have scales, but he can see water going around it. He goes, yep, it's a sword of monsters. Oh, this is going to be interesting. So, all of a sudden he goes like, so where's the, as basically the sheaf hits him on the head, he goes like, ow, there's the sheaf. Basically, pretend it's, how should I say this? The sword basically is a curved sword. Basically straight but then curves. No, it's just a straight sword. But basically when the forms it takes on, it could just curve. It looks like a normal sword. For right now. Basically, pretend it's a medieval knight sword. Or something from Lord of the Rings. I guess. But for our name, Naruto's thinking. For the name of the sword, it's basically shapeshifts and it's monsters. How about, not abomination, but Epath? No. Muzzle? No. So, basically, how about, well, Kaz says, how about just shift? Just shift. Alright then. I don't know if this is a good name for you, but how about I call you Shift? Since you shapeshift and morph. Which, all of a sudden the sword does glow a little bit. And, well, Shift. He goes, well, it looks like I can engrave the name onto it. I'll come up with a better name later. Okay, guys, you can leave a name for the name of the sword in the comments, and I'll choose which one. So, anyways, let's get back to it. So, she goes, well, now, Naruto, I just want to tell you about the sword. So, I'll be going. Also, good job on telling her, basically, to tell Athena. Which, he basically grins at that. He goes, the goddess of wisdom really needs to come with a better strategy with an unpredictable ninja. Anyway, she does not. So after that, Naruto basically does jump up into the hole, and then basically jumps off of the building, which is high enough. But he basically then does a body flicker, or should I say, a lightning strikes in midair, and he disappears. And then he basically appears right behind Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. He goes, yo, I'm back. Which he goes, what happened? He goes, man, let's just say this. The Chihuahua and the lady were not Chihuahua and a lady. Which he just walks away, so they have to go after him. Now, though, since as far as I read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So, have a nice day and night wherever you are, and bye.